Main man, made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. So I'm fresh off watching the Eddie Hearn IFL interview that was done over the weekend, right after the Demetrius Andrade and Walter Count-Tedokwa fight, in which it looked like Eddie Hearn had a long day, packing all those fights on that card right there, man. It was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when he was doing that. Dude looked like he had a long day. Probably was a little upset that he seen half of the arena walk out because of that long-ass card. So, hey, man, he was a little tired, right? Looked a little frustrated. Looked a little, just looked a little blown, man. Looked like he needed a good night's sleep, a glass of orange juice, and a few power pellets. But it is what it is. And it looked like, when it was brought up that Deontay Wilder basically stated that, look, man, he won 60-40 in his favor when he told that to the Boxing Voice, and he might settle for 50-50. Man, this sent Eddie Hearn on a tirade, man, calling the man names, saying nobody knows him. And, it just, damn, man, Eddie had his skirt showing, his slip showing that night, man. It's a little messed up, man. But the thing that got Eddie Hearn all bent out of shape is this particular quote that comes from Deontay Wilder. And that quote says, and I quote, "After this Fury fight, for me, in my mind, fuck 50-50. It's 60-40 in my favor. But to make this fight happen for the fans, I'm willing to do a 50-50. It ain't going to go no lower than that." End quote. Take in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the same position that my main man Tyson Fury also took from day one. See, Bomb Squad just getting to this point. He's just starting to realize his worth. Maybe because he knows possibly how good the pay-per-view numbers are going to look between him and Fury. So now Bomb Squad has gotten to the point of like, you know what, Tyson Fury, you right. You were right from day one. You said you would never go below 50-50. So damn it, I'm going to take that position too. Because at the end of the day, the top 3 heavyweights in the division at this point is Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and Anthony Joshua. And only 2 out of those 3 have fought each other or are going to fight each other, and that's the Wilder and Fury fight. So, of course, this prompted AJ, and I even had this prompted Eddie Hearn to come out with something very peculiar. And I had a subscriber of mine ask me in my comment section earlier in one of my videos, how do I feel about this? And I'm going to read that exact comment. And my man Jonathan Gottlieb, and I hope I ain't mispronouncing your name, Jonathan Gottlieb asked me, main man, in relation to the AJ Wilder split, does this seem reasonable? Wilder said the fight against Fury would do 2.5 million pay-per-views. Eddie has said the following about Wilder Fury in relation to Wilder's split with AJ. 1 million pay-per-view equals 50-50. 500,000 pay-per-view equals 60-40 for AJ. Less than 400,000 pay-per-views, 70-30 for AJ. Less than 300,000 pay-per-views, 80-20 for AJ. And he asked me, is that reasonable? I'm going to say it like this, Jonathan. In my opinion, it's not, for one, good to set these type of parameters before we even know how much that the fight between Wilder and Fury is going to cost. Inflating these numbers the way that Hearn is doing, this would almost kind of force Wilder, in order to hit a lot of these marks, to put his fight out at a more expensive price. Let's just be real. It's going to be Christmas time. You got other fights going on around that time. You have other sports going on. Everybody's pocketbook's going to be strapped around that time, buying stuff for the holidays, right after Thanksgiving, right after Black Friday. So it's going to be a lot of other places that money is going to be going. You know what I'm saying? But let's just deal with these numbers as what they are. Now, according to what you're saying that Eddie Hearn said, 1 million pay-per-view buys at 50-50. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the money, because it's all going to come down to how much and who, raises the most money, or how the money is going to flow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be gracious in this particular analogy. And I'm going to give AJ the high number while I give Wilder the low number. Let's just say, for the sake of this video, that Deontay Wilder comes out and prices his fight with Tyson Fury at $60. $60, you know what I mean? Let's just say if that's the case. Then with that particular number, it would take Deontay Wilder about 650,000 buys just for him to hit 39 million. Why do I say 39 million? Because Anthony Joshua's highest grossing fight, far as the pay-per-view is concerned, is with Vladimir Klitschko, in which he sold and broke records by selling 1.5 million buys in the UK. We're not going to include no Republic of Ireland and no replays or none of that stuff. We're going to deal with the numbers that went in the UK market like we're going to deal with Wilder's numbers in the US market. Now, AJ did 1.5 million buys with Vladimir Klitschko, and the pay-per-view cost in the UK for that fight was 20 pounds, roughly about 20 pounds, like 19.99 or 19.95 or 20 pounds, okay? Now, during that time, the pound to the dollar ratio was about $26. So that means that AJ, in American terms, against Vladimir Klitschko, selling 1.5 million pay-per-view buys at $26 equals out to about $39 million, or about 30 British pounds. You know what I'm saying? So in order for Wilder to hit that number and to say, let's just say 50-50 at $60, all he would need is 650,000 buys. But according to Eddie Hearn, it would take 1 million pay-per-view buys before he's willing to give him 50-50. 500,000 plus pay-per-view, it will be 60-40. Well, let's just say they put the price at $70. Then all that Deontay Wilder would need to do is hit 550,000 buys at $70 to get what pretty much Hearn want to give 60-40 for. That could be considered 50-50. You see where I'm going? And this is why I'm saying the numbers are a bit inflated. So if you're asking me that these numbers are correct that Hearn is saying, I'm saying no. And I'm using the AJ and Klitschko fight because that was the highest that was the fight that sold the most pay-per-views for Anthony Joshua. Of course, with Joseph Parker, he did 1.4. With Alexander Povetkin, he did 1.1. Against Joseph Parker, that would have came out to about 36.4 million. Against Alexander Povetkin, roughly about 28.6 million. And this is in US dollars. And now I may be off by a mil or two, mil here, mil there. But the fact still remains, in order for Wilder to hit these same exact dollar figures, he don't have to sell 1 million. Now, let's just say he does $60. At 1 million pay-per-view buys, that'll be $60 million. Damn near almost, a time and a half more than anything that AJ's done. That would effectively make him the A-side, would it not? Would it not? At 1 million buys, if you did it 60, if you did it 70, some people are saying that they're going to do this at 75. We don't know what the price is. So I'm doing the low number in 60. And that's still less than, the number is still less than 1 million to get 50-50. So at the end of the day, I believe that if Wilder and Fury does a minimal of, I'd say, about 550 to 600,000 buys, I think we should be talking 50-50 because the dollar figure, that's something that people just got to factor in. If it does 400,000 buys up in that area or less, then we should be talking 60-40. Because let's not forget what we're talking about here. We're talking about a fight. And maybe, now you know what, maybe even 45-55. Because, no, this is too much importance riding in on this fight. I'll give AJ the fact that, he has all those belts and he's achieved what he achieved. But let's not forget that this fight, and without Wilder, there's no way that Anthony Joshua can become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And the cost for that should automatically warrant at 400,000 buys a 60-40 split. No, 55-45 split. I keep saying 60-40. Apologies. Because there ain't no other fight on the planet that he can do that with. You're talking about for all the belts, for all the marbles, to have a title to make history. For that, the price got to be up there, my man. You know what I'm saying? And I hate talking numbers like this as a boxing fan. But Jonathan, I mean, I'm sorry, bruh. Like, this is what it has to come down to. You're talking about the WBC, a lineal heavyweight champion, versus the WBA, IBO, IBF, heavyweight champion. Nah, man. Yo, WBO. I'm sorry, did I leave that one out? Yo, but you know, all of these belts on the line. And there's no way that AJ nor Wilder can accomplish a history-making feat without each other. Which means that both of these men must have done something semi-right in their careers to get to this point and to deserve a proper respect from each other. Now, Wilder's saying that he deserves 60-40. Let's just say, because, you know, like you said, Wilder said that he'll hit 2.5 million. Lord knows if Wilder hits in Fury his 2.5 million, man, that man is the ultimate A-side. We ain't even got nothing to talk about. You know what I'm saying? The ultimate A-side at 2.5 million, whether it be 60, 70, 75, whether it be 55 at 2.5 million. Do you know what that comes out to? So let's not just look at the numbers here. Oh, he did 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. You got to keep in mind that we talking about dollars, pounds. You know what I mean? How much money is being generated. Don't just throw with. That's just like me saying, you know, oh, if I sell sandwiches at $2 a pop, and I outsell you who's selling sandwiches at $10 a pop, and I sell more sandwiches than you, oh, I'm the better seller. But then you might have sold half of what I sold and made more money than me. You see what I'm saying? It don't add up. So who's really the better seller? And that's what I'm saying, bruh. So at this, in my opinion, I do believe that, you know, I don't care how frustrated Eddie Hearn gets. If Wilder hits 1 million, bruh, we talking he is the A-side of this fight. Because then he will have not only hardware, but he'll have two of the biggest names at heavyweight on his resume, in Fury and in Ortiz. He'll be the missing piece to AJ needing to become undisputed. And he'll deserve respect. And on top of that, he'll have higher pay-per-view numbers and generate more pay-per-view revenue than AJ. And that's my opinion on the whole matter. So I hope that answers your question, Jonathan. Real talk. And I'm going to leave it right there. So to the next video, Main Man Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, Made Man 511. Facebook, Main Man Made Man Boxing Forum. Google Plus, Main Man Made Man. Like I said, I could be off by a meal here, meal there, a few meals here. But y'all see, you see the general ballpark where I'm going. And I just gave AJ the high number and the pound over time has fell and went up. And so I'm giving them certain numbers that, especially say against like the Joseph Parker fight or in the Povetkin fight, the pound has went up and down. You know how it fluctuates. And the pound has been weak at a lot of times. So maybe I'm even giving him more money than he actually made. But at the end of the day, the dollar don't move. And the dollar is what it is. So guess what? If this man comes out and he gives you 650,000 buys at $60 or 550,000 buys at $70 or maybe even 500,000 buys at $75, the man should deserve his 50-50 and not 1 million. To the next video. Peace out.